when I look at companies as inspiration. Palantir sticks out as one.
You worked at Palantir.
I did, so maybe potentially biased to see it, but This idea that Palantir had a few products focused on big data initially, and if you substitute out big data and put in blockchain, that's aspirationally what we want this department to become.
So the Palantir of blockchains.
That's a good headline.
That's what I'm here for. Today's guest is Ira Auerbach, the head of Tandem, which is the partner studio and venture capital arm of Offchain Labs. Ira was previously the senior VP and head of digital assets at NASDAQ and also held leadership positions at Gemini. And prior to Web3, he also worked at Palantir Technologies, BGC Partners, and BNP Paribas. I'm excited to have him on today to discuss all things VC, Arbitrum, Ethereum ecosystem, and more. Ira, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. It's a rainy day in New York, so we appreciate you coming in.
It is. My legs from about the knees down are very wet right now from the walk.
Well, we should have put you in a car. That's on the next budget for a talking token. Yeah. To start off, I always like to ask guests, can you tell us about yourselves? I gave an intro about you, but maybe more so, how did you even end up in Web3 after banks, technology, crypto? It sounds like a pretty legitimate progression and a common pathway into this space, but what brought you into it?
Yeah, it was a little bit of serendipity, to be honest with you. First Bitcoin I bought was in 2014.
You still have
Unfortunately, the first Bitcoin I also sold was in 2014. So that's a little bit disappointing.
Like, up 100x, I'm out.
We kind of knew about it. I was in currency trading. So when Bitcoin popped up from the volatility perspective, like everybody wanted to trade it around. And then we did that and didn't touch the industry for a while. And then in early 2017, one of my wife's friends was working over at Gemini. She called up to ask me a question about FX and trading and the intersection of technology and what was going on in the FX markets. And what she was doing sounded incredibly interesting. I went in and met Cameron and Tyler, I think something like 3 days later, and I signed paperwork 8 days after that. It was it was an opportunity that you couldn't miss.
Yeah. What were you doing at Gemini?
I joined as the first head of product for Gemini. I joined.
Big role.
It was. It was. We were about 32 people then. I think it was in point 32, 33, something like that. First product hire into an engineering heavy role. And then I think in true startup fashion, like everybody in crypto, you wear so many hats. So over the 5 years that I was there, I ran product, I did some project management, I ran BD for a short period of time, and then ended up starting the trading desk at Gemini and running the institutional side of the business.
Okay. So then Gemini, NASDAQ, what was it like at NASDAQ? I feel like because that's more of like a TradFi entity, right? So how do they look at digital assets? Similar to Gemini in the sense of it is an asset to be traded on an exchange. So there were two main initiatives at NASDAQ while I was there. One was to build a MPC-based custody solution. And the second was to support the ecosystem more generally. NASDAQ had a number of products from transaction monitoring to eventually they listed the ETFs, et cetera. So it was that support of the ecosystem. And then there was a custody build out as well. Is there anything specific from your past roles that you're now bringing to Tandem?
Yeah, I've had the benefit of kind of being on both sides of the table. We're not kind of actually being on both sides of the table and being with Gemini and going in to pitch these larger institutions on why they should use the product, then sit on the other side of the table with NASDAQ and hear those pitches and see both sides. And I hope I could bring that to some of our portfolio companies and help them in any little way I can in making those conversations easier. And I'd say the second thing that was really beneficial about the time at NASDAQ was the access to regulators. NASDAQ is obviously a heavily regulated institution, both inside and out. There's a great perspective on how regulation was evolving over time and how NASDAQ and other companies could potentially fit in within that regulatory framework.
And how are you thinking about that now with Tandem?
Bullish.
Lots to think about. Bullish. Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we zoom out, the march towards a regulatory regime
that makes builders feel comfortable is there. Like the trend is our friend in that respect. I think we still have a long way to go. Nobody, I think, would sit in the seat and be like, yeah, we're there, victory.
Yeah.
On to the next one, guys.
Right, yeah.
But definitely the trend is super positive, and we're seeing builders excited. We're excited to invest in companies, and this kind of lull maybe that there was 2 years ago where people were almost pulling away from the ecosystem, it doesn't feel like that's happening anymore. We're super excited.
Yeah. And you've been at Tandem since the beginning of the year, right?
Slightly before, yeah. Okay. I think I'm coming up on 4 months now, so still new.
How's it been?
It's great.
Yeah.
Have you met Steven and Harry and Ed and all these guys?
I've met Ed as well. I don't know Harry. These are Offchain Labs people.
Yep.
Let me break the fourth wall.
Those are the three founders of Offchain Labs, I believe CEO, chief scientist, and CTO.
Big names,
by how I mentioned them. And yeah, just everybody at Offchain Labs is so smart, so hardworking, so ambitious. And what they're trying to do for the ecosystem is amazing. I'm just excited to be a small part of it.
Yeah. Has anything surprised you so far?
The horsepower within Offchain Labs and how much technology they pump out is surprising. So we've launched things like Bold and Stylus recently that really bring the ability to perform computations and push the ecosystem towards decentralization. And I've only been here 4 months. Those two things have come out. So it's shocking how fast the team can move.
Yeah. So this is a venture arm / studio, but it's not Offchain Labs, but it's by it, right? I want to make sure I'm saying it correctly. You're going to correct me. I could feel it.
No, that was exactly correct.
That is correct.
Yeah, we are Tandem by Offchain Labs.
Okay. So what's challenging about operating this within like maybe the Offchain Labs like vehicle? Or is it not necessarily like it's separate of church and state? How do you guys look at it?
No, we operate through the Offchain Labs vehicle. I wouldn't say there's anything particularly challenging about it. We operate off the Offchain Labs balance sheet, so there are no outside investors.
Okay.
And then the department itself, we kind of operate between two verticals. So I say the challenging thing is there's a lot of space within crypto to invest within.
Right.
And we have two arms within Tandem. The first is similar to traditional VC. Where's traditional VC? If somebody is going to raise, we can participate. We typically don't lead rounds, and we're focused there around pre-seed, seed, and Series A companies as a function of operating off our balance sheet. Then the second side of it, which I spend a bit more of my time on, is what we term our partner studio, which is instead of giving that monetary capital to help accelerate growth within a company, we'll give human capital. As I just like name dropped a few seconds ago. We've got a bunch of really smart people, and that doesn't begin to skim the surface. So we have the folks that have helped launch and grow the Arbitrum ecosystem and the Prism Layer 1 client. So if a company that we're looking to partner with has a deep technical problem that they're looking to solve, instead of taking this chain of raise money to hire somebody to train them up to do the thing, we can kind of condense that, and we could give them some of our resources to solve that deep technical problem.
Nice. On the partner side, you're obviously talking to a lot of startups and founders. What is something that they struggle with the most right now?
Oh man, there's a wide range. It's hard to pick just one.
Okay, the most reoccurring thing.
The most reoccurring one. There's this idea of computation on the blockchain, right? Like if we think of Ethereum as one giant shared computer for everybody, I don't think anybody would say that this is like where we want to end up. So how can we do things faster? How can we do things more secure? How can we do more things per chain? And if you look at our portfolio companies, that's kind of the problems that we're assisting this group with. So how can we do more on the blockchain?
Okay. And then what do you say to them when they ask that?
We can help.
Okay, we can help. Good. I think maybe something I see a lot with early stage startups is they struggle with like, and this is going to sound so horrible, but one, finding product market fit. Like they might have a genius idea, but then they don't know how to market it. And then also like the go-to-market strategy is just like all over the place. So how do you kind of like navigate that with them and say, hey, this structurally is a great idea, et cetera, but you're just not hitting the nail when it comes to actually gaining users or adoption.
Yeah, it's a great call out. And I think goes into the way that we structure some of these partner relationships. So we've only done a few of them thus far, and can customize it to whatever the company needs. But the majority that we've done have lasted between a 1 and 3 year period. And we started with something super technical from a milestone base and then moved into something go to market. So we have those milestones and that incentive alignment. So whatever work we're doing, we don't just want it to be a cool project that we do in the back corner and then it never sees the light of day, but that we could leverage the Arbitrum partnerships team and some of our marketing and communications to not only help them build it, but help them bring it to market as well.
And are they all Arbitrum based, Arbitrum themed?
No, we're chain agnostic. At the high level, Offchain Labs is
but you
goal.
secretly like it when they're Arbitrum based.
Of course, yeah. Of course we like it. Yeah. But of the 3 partner studio deals that we have public, only one of them is exclusively Arbitrum with the Xi blockchain building on top of Orbit. The other 2, Espresso Systems building a decentralized sequencer, which helps scale Ethereum, certainly helps Arbitrum, but helps everybody else as well. And Phoenix, which is bringing FHE encryption to the blockchain. Once again, also helps Arbitrum, but helps the entire Ethereum ecosystem.
Yeah, I saw the Phoenix one. That's the newest one as well that was just recently announced. But all 3 of them are very different, right? And so when it came to, I assume, funding them, how did you guys determine these are like the 3 flagship ones that we want to start with?
Yeah, I mean, they all have the same theme of accelerating blockchain growth and helping to scale Ethereum. So whether it's increasing the number of use cases that can happen on blockchain via encryption, Phoenix, interoperability via decentralized sequencers such as Espresso Systems, or bringing as many gamers as possible to the Arbitrum Orbit ecosystem with Xi. It's all of the same theme that we're going after, which is helping to scale, particularly the Ethereum ecosystem, but also blockchain ecosystem more broadly.
Yeah. The team has about 10 million in committed capital for Tandem, and it launched back in mid-August. We actually, I believe, it was Steven who came on the show and we talked about Tandem, among other things that were happening within Offchain. But it's been over 6 months or so. And you joined back about 3-4 months ago. So like shortly after it started. What has transpired on this front aside from the 3 teams that you guys have deployed capital in? Or has that been the main focus thus far?
Our partner studio teams are definitely the main focus. In addition to that, we've done a few VC investments. We've invested in Corn, Camelot, and 1 or 2 others that are not yet public. Okay. But we're running the partner studio and the VC arm in tandem.
In tandem, there we go. That's funny. How long do you think it'll take to deploy all this capital? Do you guys have a time frame for it?
Yeah, it really depends on the projects that come across. But from a goal perspective, we're looking at a year to 18 months.
Okay, then what happens after that year to 18 months?
Hopefully some of the investments will be returning capital that we can reinvest. And also there's a commitment from OCL to keep the program going.
Okay.
Short-term goals and then long-term goals. We'll see what happens next.
Fair enough. When you think about the broader VC landscape for maybe Ethereum ecosystems more particular, because that's kind of what we're focused on here. How do you look at it compared to previous quarters? I think there's been a lot of conversations about scaling Ethereum, and I've noticed maybe better infrastructure developments on that front. But I'm curious your thoughts as to like, where do we stand today? If we had it on a spectrum of like 0, like this is a disaster, we need Ethereum infrastructure right now, there's nothing we could do, all the way to 100, everything is fixed, we're perfect. Where would you put it? Remember trying to move your assets between chains, watching the minutes tick by, wondering if your transaction would make it? Yeah, we've all been there. But here's the thing. While other bridges feel like taking the scenic route, Across is your express lane. Base, Arbitrum, Optimism, boom, boom, boom. Your assets move between them faster than you could say cross-chain. Across isn't just another bridge. When Uniswap needed the fastest, most reliable way to move assets cross-chain, they chose Across. Now, millions of Uniswap users are swapping between chains without even thinking about it, because that's how it should be. Whether you're moving assets yourself or building the next big thing in crypto, Across makes cross-chain feel like the same chain. No more scenic routes, no more complexity, just 2-second transfers between chains. Ready to join the Express Lane? Head to across.to and experience what bridging should have been all along.
Oh man, I think we're still just starting.
Like, it's not zero.
It's not zero. Yeah. It's certainly not zero, but like we have a long way to go. We have so much to accomplish within the community that, I mean, that 100 is going to get stretched out forever.
Yeah,
I think
we'll never hit 100.
as we keep going and going and going. I think, as you indicated, the main investment, and I think it's correct, where the ecosystem is pointing, is in infrastructure. We need to be able to do more on chain, whether that is more computation per block, more confidentiality, better UX. It all plays into the same theme. And I think the investment in the ecosystem is spot on right now.
Mm-hmm. And so what are you most interested in? Like in terms of blockchain applications, infrastructure solutions? I know those are two main themes that Tandem is focused on.
Yep.
Right?
I would say the other one is user experience. Like it's still this multi-hop problem of taking your funds from your bank account to oftentimes a centralized exchange, to a wallet, to a dApp is intimidating for most people. Pressing that like sign button is still sometimes intimidating.
If you could get the sign button to pop up.
Exactly. So working with providers on the user experience side as well. And I think everything we've talked about has played into that higher level theme of user experience.
Yeah. When it comes to the user experience, what do you think makes a good one? Is it just like a one click and done? That's kind of the situation, or?
Yeah, I'm a believer in the one click and done.
Yeah.
100%. Everything else is obfuscated away. During my time at Gemini, which was a very, very user-centric company, retail user-centric, we spent an enormous amount of time getting 5 clicks down to 4 and then 4 clicks down to 3. And there are meaningful differences to the user pipeline when you get that down. So yeah, I think that's the goal. You want to do something on blockchain and you don't even know it's happening on blockchain. It's just a click.
So when you talk to these startups, do you tell them like, hey, this took me 3 clicks, you have to go fix this? And they look at you like you're crazy? Sometimes,
yeah. Yeah, definitely sometimes.
Yeah.
A lot of the companies that we're investing in are on the infrastructure side. Their customers are other developers at times. So they have a little bit more liberties when it comes to that. The principles of like good customer experience still apply to them as well, of course, like 1 API call instead of 5. But yeah, getting it as simple as possible is just a theme in technology, I feel like. And crypto is not immune from it. not good at it and not immune from it.
What about blockchain applications? What are you interested in seeing built either for Arbitrum or the broader Ethereum ecosystem?
Yeah, given my background, like I always have an eye towards the financial applications, the distribution particularly. And I think the more complex calculations, such as value at risk, more complex options products, per se, are just around the corner as we kind of increase all of the computational power we've been talking about. So I'm super excited for that, and just like the distribution and democratization of those products.
Are you more focused on getting a deeper like Web3 audience, or gaining like institutional traction, more high level, like finance people?
I would say both. But to the user experience question from a little bit before, if people could go through the rails that they're comfortable with, the traditional apps, I think it's going to be easier to onboard people. I think the projects that do that and plug into that system are going to be more successfeme
Okay. What about things you don't want to invest in? I'm sure there's been plenty of things that have crossed your desk.
Yeah. Meme coins are not something we traditionally invest in. No.
Just meme coins. Anything else?
Meme coins really stick out. I think a lot of companies creating super apps, there's so much space to kind of put your arms around that is a really challenging proposition. And, we've focused on companies that are trying to do one thing really, really well rather than cast a super wide net as well.
I do think having like specificity, I believe that's the word, makes for a better product, especially with startups. Because if you're doing 100 things at once, like the vision is not clear and the odds are you're not doing everything to like the best performance possible, right? Like, what is it? A friend to all is a friend to none. I think the same applies to startups, right?
I think that's very well said.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe I should start advising these startups.
Yeah, exactly. No. Let's switch seats.
For the partner side of things, I think you pretty much have a strong focus on that, right? What do you think that will look like long term? Like, would you like it to become a self-sustaining type of operation where it's like a well-oiled machine, it doesn't change, or would you like it to kind of evolve with the evolution of the Ethereum landscape? Yeah,
certainly evolve. And if I am to be incredibly aspirational about what we want to become, when I look at companies as inspiration, Palantir sticks out as one.
You worked at Palantir.
I did. So maybe potentially biased to see it, but this idea that Palantir had a few products focused on big data initially and would deploy and customize these products for institutions to help them accomplish said goals. And then they evolved over time to take advantage of machine learning and AI and large language models now. And if you substitute out big data and put in blockchain, that's aspirationally what we want this department to become.
So the Palantir of blockchains.
That's a good headline.
That's what I'm here for. How else do you see Tandem as a way for Ethereum-centric chains to partner and have more interoperability? Because a big thing that I always hear is that it's extremely fragmented, or even some of these like ETH-L2s maybe don't necessarily want to interact with each other, although they should. How do you think about that?
There are underlying problems to interoperability, whether it's speed or the sequencers that are used. So when we think about those problems, we think about the core kind of picks and shovels that need to happen, and then go out and try to invest in and partner with companies that can meet that end goal. And I think Espresso Systems is a perfect example of that by decentralizing the sequencer that allows these layer 2s to interact with layer 1s. We could go out and have one sequencer for everybody potentially and work towards that end goal. So I think a reason something hasn't happened yet oftentimes has an underlying very, very difficult technical problem underpinning it. So as we discuss with companies that we're looking to partner with, it is along those lines. Like, what problem are you trying to solve? How can this help Ethereum? And can we help you? Potentially not. More often than not, hopefully we can.
Yeah. Do you think the current market landscape is driving more towards a multi-chain future? And are you guys on board with that then?
Competition is healthy. So as new use cases pop up, as customer experience increases, as bandwidth increases, I think we're always going to have multiple chains to compete with. I think that's good for the ecosystem. I think if there was just one giant company that was running everything, we might be in the same position that crypto is trying to solve. So yeah, multi-chain future, I think I feel very comfortable with. I believe I speak for Offchain Labs when they feel comfortable for it. We're not trying to consolidate everything.
Okay. You're in the early days of Tandem. You started a couple months ago. The project launched, the team launched over 6 months ago, as I mentioned. What would you like to be seen done in the next, let's say, like 6 months or so? So by the end of, that wouldn't be the end of the year, 6 months. 9 months. Let's say 9 months. By the end of 2025, what would you like to see accomplished?
Yeah. So we have our goal to deploy capital on the VC side. We already went over that. So we'll tackle that. And then on the partner studio side, we have the goal to partner with 7 companies. So we've got
7.
Three,
okay, so you got
three under the belt. And I hope to come back here in 9 months and talk about the other 4 companies with as much enthusiasm as I have for Espresso, Zai, and Phoenix.
For the other 4, do you have an idea of what they are? And if not, what are the themes that you really want to hopefully invest in for those 4?
Yeah. We don't have any names we're hiding from you at this moment. But the theme with these 3 that we hope to continue is scaling. the community. There are very difficult technical problems out there that we would like to solve for the entire community. I believe those 3 companies are working on that, and we're in partnership with them to do so, and hope the next 4 companies will be along the same lines.
Yeah. Are they all going to be technical then, or no?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
I think that is the value add that we have at Offchain Labs is on the technical side. Of course, on the partnership and go-to-market as well, but that is a function of the technology that we're able to produce for the community.
Long term then, beyond 2025, what else would you like to see done for Tandem?
Continue growing with the ecosystem, scaling Ethereum so that we could come back here and talk about this giant shared computer that we all have that's now, more towards 100. We'll always be at 99 and a half, but more towards 100 than we are currently.
Okay, fair enough. What else are you watching within the broader crypto ecosystem that we haven't discussed that you think others should pay attention to?
Regulation is a huge one. I think everybody's kind of sitting on the sidelines, cautiously optimistic about what's going to happen over the next couple of months, whether it be the strategic reserve or stablecoin infrastructure bills, et cetera. So how that develops, I think, is really going to set a direction, particularly in the US, and potentially allow institutions to jump in more meaningfully with 2 feet.
For projects that you talk to in the US on that front, how do you kind of advise them? Given it feels optimistic, but you can't fully jump into the deep end without certainty that it is optimistic.
Yeah. I mean, you need to build your product towards your vision. But gambling on institutions coming in by X date and running your runway and your business focused on that specific date has been a recipe for disaster for most companies over the past couple of years. So I think that's the biggest piece of advice. And you have to be ready when you get the call from the large financial institution, because the rules of the game were finally, laid out for everybody and they're ready to go. But to run your business solely on that, I think is a mistake at this point. Cautious optimism, I think, is what most people should be using.
And are you guys globally focused then, or US venture?
Yeah, we're globally focused.
So those 3 projects are global.
They are, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing, Ira, can you leave us with a piece of advice, something that you've carried with you throughout your time in this space?
Oh, good one. I think my first boss ever used to say to me, once the sale is made, stop selling. And I've kind of carried that with me. And I think has applications not just in business, but in life in general.
Okay. I like that. Stop selling. We're going to stop selling now.
I love it.
All right. Ira, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
A pleasure.
Likewise.